Well, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Right, let's
A little
get some
foreshadowing there.
Right. Arimas. There's my boy Lucas.
Lucas and AC, the faithful
Good
ones.
morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, let's give about another minute or so to get more people in here.
All right.
Joel, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Ben, how are you? Oh,
A
pounding down
little
Red
chilly,
Bull, huh?
actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's been cold in Texas. Cold. It's been chilly in the Fort Worth area this past few days. Like it's hasn't gone above 70. And it's gotten to like 40 degrees at night, which is really nice.
Good sleeping weather, 40
Oh,
degrees.
it's amazing sleeping weather.
Yeah. So,
Right. How's life down there in the San Diego area, right? Yeah.
in Crazy Land South, you mean?
Yeah.
Crazy. It's, who's going to listen to me complain about living in San Diego? I don't think anybody. So it's, um, 31 in the Okanagan.
Where's that at? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
where's the Okanagan? Must be in Canada.
Yeah, it does sound like a Canadian name
Yeah. So
or like a indigenous people's name.
yeah, no, it is. So
All right. Well, Patriots today. Oh, British Columbia. Yeah.
British Columbia. Yeah.
Our focus is going to be on Japan. We're going to take a moment, take a step back, and look at a country that has such a fascinating history. I mean, there's countries out there that have history, obviously, but Japan is, to me, pretty unique because it grew in a isolated sphere that was untouched for so long. And then with regards to us as Americans, Japan, they were the enemy. They were the enemy. I mean, yeah, you had the Germans and the Italians during World War II, but let's be honest, the Japanese, they were a whole nother force to be reckoned with. But now they're I would say, one of our strongest allies in the Pacific. And we could spend hours talking about why that is. But Trump, our boy Trump, recently signed a historic trade deal with Japan. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about who he made the deal with, who the new leader of Japan is, and then we'll transition into how Japan has evolved with America, but also how Japan has evolved with Christianity. So, Joel, without any further ado, let's get started. Let me share the screen. Here we go.
Good morning to you guys. President Trump has a new friend in Japan's first female prime minister, Sanae Takaishi, who was just elected, came into office about a week ago. She's conservative, a protege of President Trump's friend, the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and she not only wooed President Trump with a lot of personal gestures, but she also followed through on a deal that was struck by her predecessor this past summer to invest $550 billion in the U.S. That's equivalent to a tenth of Japan's economy. That investment, despite its debt, in exchange for a lower tariff rate of 15%. Both sides, though, appeared very pleased when the first $490 billion was announced this morning.
We had a phenomenal day here in Japan with a momentous trade deal. We made a big, beautiful trade deal for both countries. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I think Japan also had their best stock market day ever. So your new prime minister is doing very well.
Japan and the U.S. also agreed to ramp up mining and production of rare earth minerals, all the more critical in light of China's near monopoly on that industry and its threat to throttle the entire world's tech transactions with aggressive export controls. And Japan will increase defense spending, heeding President Trump's call and deepening defense cooperation with the U.S. as China looms over this region.
Okay. So, hold on. Back up. Japan, an ancient country that is steeped in rigorous traditions, honor, standards, cleanliness, order, right? This country just elected its very first female prime minister. Now, patriots, let's think for a moment. This is a big deal. Because again, we're not talking about France, Germany. We're not talking about Chad, or Ethiopia. We're not talking about China. We're talking about Japan. All right. Now, you would think this would be all over the news. The first ever female elected to Japan prime minister, right? You would think the left would be celebrating this, right? Because, just women existing, to be fair, is great. I love women, but women just existing nowadays is enough for an award. That's just how our culture is nowadays. But why aren't they celebrating this girl? Like, why don't you hear about the left singing her praises? Well, let's find out.
Based on the understanding that Japan's biggest problem is population decline, we will establish a system to consider measures against population decline, including policies for children and child rearing. It is true that, given the labor shortages caused by population decline, there are fields that require foreign workers. Inbound tourism is also important. However, it is also a fact that some illegal acts or rule violations by certain foreigners have created situations where the public feels anxiety or a sense of unfairness. While
Take note, United Kingdom.
this is clearly distinct from discrimination, the government will respond firmly to such acts.
So you get what she's doing there? She's saying we don't want to be bigoted. We understand that not everyone who has come here is committing illegal acts, but we know that some of them are. We're going to deal with that. And also we should be reproducing. And by the way, we do have labor issues. She's also dealing with it on the reality front. We have labor issues, so they want to deal with that. But as you guys know, the robots are coming. I think the Japanese are pretty good when it comes to technology and robots, and that will all be solved too.
So, Joel, let's take a moment and let's talk about this. Like, why isn't the left celebrating her? From that video, what 3 key points? What do you think are the reasons why the left's not talking about her?
Well, I think she's called the Asian Margaret Thatcher, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's who she's being compared to. And you would have thought that the media would have been all over the first female, or one of the first. I don't know if Margaret Thatcher was the first female prime minister of Great Britain or not, but she was. If she wasn't the first, she was the second. But they hated her because she was conservative. She sounded a lot like this lady sounds.
Mm.
And we were talking at the beginning when you first brought up the subject of Japan. It's Lucas has some Japanese heritage.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, he had a samurai.
It's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Nothing's cooler than a samurai, right? And Hirohito even named, but we have a history with Japan, right? Obviously, my dad fought against Japan in World War II, and he did not have the guys that fought against Japan did not have a high view of the Japanese. And you might say that's racist, but you also may say the Japanese earned that. They were horrible during that.
They did
war.
terrible things in history. Yeah.
Awful things. But Japan's kind of the way, and really Japan was set by the way we reacted to our victory. Mm-hmm. Japan and Germany both. One of the things that I think is the greatest thing about the United States and makes the United States the greatest country ever was the way we acted after we won World War II. And basically we won the West in World War II. Soviets won the East, and they were just as bad as the Nazis. We won in the West and in the Pacific. And we proved and showed why we're the greatest country ever, because instead of, those Japanese diplomats, when they walked on the Missouri, the battleship Missouri to sign those surrender documents, they didn't know what was going to happen. They assumed that they would be executed because that's what Japan did when they won, and Japan had never lost. They had
Because death was better than dishonor.
Yeah, better dishonor. So they had no idea what was going to happen, and Japan was gobsmacked, I think, by the way that we went about our victory with them. We rebuilt the country. We rebuilt Germany. We rebuilt our enemies. And by the 80s, both Japan and Germany were our economic rivals, right? Where there was more like economic wars going on. But I think that's why Japan and Germany are such different countries than they were during World War II, is because the way we were. And I don't think Japan has ever forgotten that. Because, I mean, you talk about a society that's completely different than ours. Japan, to me, is so foreign. I think I've said everyone always wants to go to Tokyo, but I would be scared to death to go to Tokyo, because Tokyo to me seems like this giant city that I would get lost in, and I would have no reference point, no cultural reference points, because the Japanese are so different from us. Their culture is so unique. And like you said, it developed over hundreds of years in that kind of very little influence from the outside world, if any at all. And so they have their own unique language, their own unique culture, their own unique world view there that's completely different than most of the other world, of the rest of the world. So, but what she's talking about, basically the economic reform she's having, and everything else, the key point she made. And when I started this, I said, the only thing I told you this in the pre-show, the only thing I want to hear from Japan, that I'm interested in hearing Japan, is are you going to start having babies again? Because
that's the first big thing. Yep.
And that is the number one issue. It's going to be another number one issue in the entire world.
Yeah.
Coming up. It probably is right now and nobody's talking about it, but if we don't have babies, our world, I did my my podcast yesterday on AI, and if AI takes over the world, we could be doomed. And there's two guys that wrote a book saying, if it does, we are. It's a done deal almost. We have very little time to turn this around. But in Asia, they've kind of it's even more advanced. AI it's a more robotic society because there's not the human element there. And your society a human society can't survive without the human element. It's just the way it is. So.
Right. So everything you said really expands upon the three key points. It's like, again, the question is, why isn't the left celebrating her? She's the first female prime minister of freaking Japan. Well, it's because she's based. I was educating Joel before the show what the word based means. Based is a new age term for people that aren't just conservative. They're like ultra conservative.
You are so down with the kids.
I try to be. Okay. It's not just like right off the bat, she was like, I want more babies. Number one. That's the first big reason why the left's not celebrating this. Because the left.
And did you see the reaction? Did you hear the reaction from the crowd? Of
course.
She had to stop it.
Yeah,
how could you argue with that?
The left, by definition, is anti-family. So that's the first thing, right? Number two, she wants Japan sovereignty. She wants Japan to be proud to be Japan. Now, to be fair, to acknowledge the past, Japan did some pretty terrible things. But again, history is gray. Everyone has done terrible things. The United States has done terrible things. That's human history, okay? But it's okay to be proud of your country and your culture.
To an extent. Okay,
right. Then number three, she is anti-illegal immigration. Yeah. And she, like earlier, I paused. If I said, take note, UK. She's not against migration. She's against illegal immigration. And to just let these migrants walk free while doing crimes, what does that tell the people who are there legally?
Yeah.
Right? That's the main takeaway. And those three reasons, I believe, is why the left isn't even talking about her. Because she doesn't fit the strong, independent woman narrative.
Right. Lucas may not be very popular there either. He did his part in populating the world. You the man, Lucas.
Absolutely, sir.
Yes, I salute you.
And so
you, Chad, if you're the king of the beast, of the based. So
here's the thing. America's relationship with Japan as a country, again, we were enemies. Now we are probably the strongest allies in the Pacific. But let's transition for a second. Let's move on to being a Christian. Again, Christianity in Japan is also fascinating, but it's dark. Let's not forget, in the mid to late 1500s, hundreds upon hundreds of Christians were brutalized by the Japanese, by Christian missionaries. Here's a quick summary of that.
Did you know that in the late 1500s, Japan tried to stop the rise of Christianity in a brutal way? At first, the new religion spread quickly, with many Japanese people converting, but the rulers grew worried that Christianity might weaken their control or invite foreign powers into Japan. In 1597, to send a strong warning, 26 Christians, both European missionaries and Japanese converts, were arrested and marched hundreds of miles in the freezing winter. They were then publicly crucified in Nagasaki for everyone to see. But instead of killing their faith, their bravery inspired more people to practice Christianity in secret for generations. Did you?
So that was Christianity trying to spread in Japan many, many, many years ago. But then what about modern day Christianity? This is a very interesting take from a woman in Japan.
I know many Christians in Japan struggling. We cannot worship ancestors anymore since we become Christian, and many people struggling because we have this, heart that we want to honor them and we want to love them. I think a lot of people, because I spoke with so many people who wants to believe Jesus or who's interested in, learning more about the Bible. But many people, a lot of them ask me, but my grandpa is from this and this, from Buddhist type of thing, and I don't want to deny this because I kind of believe and I want to honor. But once you become Christian, this is only one way to God, right? And I have to deny every other God, right? What should I do? Or many people say I cannot tell my parents, or what should I do? Because there's so many tradition in Japan that you have to go and do many, form of the worshiping, and many people struggle with. They don't know what to do. They don't want to be different. They don't want to offend anybody.
That was such a fascinating take, because here's the truth. In Japan today, you can be a Christian in Japan, and it's fine. You're not going to be publicly executed. That's not going to happen. But there are social consequences. One of my good friends, he was a fellow teacher of mine, Kelson. He did missions. He has done mission work in Japan. He was telling me it's a wonderful country. If you love things being organized, if you love things being orderly, if you love law and order, respect, honor, tradition, Japan's amazing. If you love cleanliness, Japan's amazing, right? But at the same time, he mentioned that there's such a high social expectation for everybody to be successful. Like, especially if you're a man. If you're not successful, you are viewed as a failure. And as a woman, you can be successful, but again, you're expected to be more of that traditional woman, motherly figure, which is cool. Okay. But in Japan, if you don't meet those social standards, you're kind of ostracized. You are viewed like an outcast. Now, that's just socially. Now add a religious element to it. A big thing in Japan is honoring your ancestors, whether you follow Shintoism or Buddhism. That's a big part of that. But then when you choose a different path and follow Christ, you truly are abandoning, from the Japanese perspective, everything that has been built for you. And so I don't want to just take it away. But Joel, like, what are your thoughts from what you saw there?
Yeah, isn't that what Jesus came to do, though? Jesus said, "I didn't come to make life comfortable here. I came to put, brother against brother, sister, parents against children. You need to pay a cost if you're going to follow me. If you're going to be a Christian,
Right.
You are never promised an easy life.
Right.
And that easy life that we've had for, we look at that and we think, oh, how shocking, that must be so hard. But that's because we live, like I said, in this little freedom bubble we've had for so long. That's really
good.
unique in the history of the world. And we don't realize that for most of human history, being a Christian meant you had a hard life. It was suffering, and we put on the sufferings of Christ, and that's really what we're called to do. Why he gave us in the United States this little bubble and this little, gift we've had of comfortable lives of prosperity while still following him. It's very unique, and it's something that we can't take for granted, because we're pretty much the only ones that ever have lived this way in human history. In the West,
there's a verse that I've always known for a long time, and it's Isaiah 6:8. I'll bring it up here in a minute. Okay. But this verse has been used for members of the military, for first responders, firefighters, EMTs, teachers even. But this verse is also applicable to missionaries. Let me pull it up right here. Okay, Joel, can you read this for me? This is Isaiah 6:8.
Oh, it's moving. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Then I said, "Here am I, send me."
It's one thing to really believe this verse and apply it to your life and kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. It's something completely different when you have no idea what's going to happen next. That applies to the military, especially. Like, when you join the military, you're telling, like, if you're a Christian, you are saying, "Lord, send me." But you have no idea where you're going to be sent. You have no clue what's going to happen next. Same thing with mission work. Yeah, sure, you might know what country you're going to or what region of the world you're going to, but as a missionary, when you're there, you have support, but it's kind of your job to go into the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally your job, is to go into the unknown, into the darkness.
Into the ends of the earth. And when you think of that term, the end, okay, you're at the end of the earth. You're about as far away from your comfort zone as you could be.
And I would argue you're doing one of the most dangerous jobs out there, especially nowadays.
Hey, what did the first missionaries in Japan get? They got crucified, in Nagasaki of all places. So,
like in the military, you go to dangerous locations, but you have support. You have like actual weaponry. You have firepower. You have an entire nation at your back. But as a missionary, you have nothing. You have support of the church you're with. Yeah, sure. But if you're trying to, spread the truth of Christ, brother, you're going to be truly in a world of danger every second of every single day.
Yeah, and but what did Jesus promise? Jesus promised, "Lo, I'm with you even to the end of the age." So you're not alone. You have, even if you do have suffering, Jesus doesn't promise an easy life. He promises us suffering, actually, but he also promises that he will be with us through that suffering. And that's what those missionaries had. And, like I said, we've had such soft, cushy, comfortable lives. We have no concept of that, of suffering. Mm-hmm. We get ripped on social media and, we have to lay down for half an hour or whatever. I don't know. But we really don't know what it's like to suffer for our faith. We have no idea. We might learn soon, but we have no idea what most of Christians throughout history have gone through. So the topic of Japan connects well with the topic of missionaries. But to wrap this all up today, for all of us, this verse still applies to each of us.
It's like there comes a moment in our lives when you don't know what's going to happen. You have to just put complete, total faith in Christ and know that, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's okay. Whatever it is, send me. Put me in, coach. Throw me in there. Like, I don't care. I'm going in no matter what happens. And if you're married to someone who also believes in that, you're unstoppable. You know, and that's encouraging. So, you know, Patriots today, really think about that verse, Isaiah 6:8. It's like, Lord, send me to whatever it is, whatever happens, send me, regardless of the consequences, regardless of even my own death. It doesn't matter. Send me. So, on that note, Joel, what are your closing thoughts on that?
It's an eternal mindset, right? If all we care about, if all we think about, if all we are working towards is comfort in this life or prosperity in this life, if this is all there is, then first of all, Christ died needlessly. It's one of the things Paul says. You know, if Christ didn't die and raise again, we should just be totally into this world and what we can get from it. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, right? But if we have an eternal perspective, if we see this, Dennis Prager used to say, life is an audition for heaven, basically. You know, and that's what God, at the end, when we face God, he's going to say, what did you do with my son? What did you do with my word? Why should I let you into heaven? And our only answer can be, it's because what the guy on the middle cross said. The guy on the cross in the middle said, I can come in if I believed in him, trusted in him, and gave my life to him and accepted his sacrifice for me. So we're all working towards eternity here. We're not working for things in this life. And those missionaries to Japan knew it. It's really one of the things that goes against the grain when she was talking about having children. And those people were like, that was outrageous for them to think that a woman would have children. No, a woman has got to have all the worldly things that we value, all these secular things. She's got to have success. She's got to have a career. But that goes against the grain of the eternity that God has put inside of us. And so just the mere mention of, hey, we need to do what we're put on this earth to do, is nails on a chalkboard to the people that are perishing. But to people who have an eternal perspective, we think, what else would you do? Right.
Right.
So she's on the right track, you know. Like I said, and it takes courage. Who would think it takes courage to say, you know what, we can't let our culture die. Japan has to live on.
Yeah. And the thing is, what's so interesting about this is, again, you have a country that is steeped in rich history, coming from the time of the samurai to World War II to modern day. It's like, you know, there's a reason why the Marines are known as the Marines. There's a reason why they have that aura of like the toughest of the tough, right? It's not because of it's not because of when they began. What garnered their reputation was the fact that they fought the Japanese, because that was the first enemy in U.S. history that refused to quit. That literally did not believe in the word surrender.
Right.
So for the first time, you had 17, 18-year-old boys in the Marine Corps in the Pacific on swampy, stinky beaches, fighting guys who can survive off of maggoty rice and water for weeks, and who want to die. They want to do a bonsai charge and kill all of you. So when you have an enemy like that, that shapes who you are.
Right.
And that's molded to our respect that we have for Japan today, politically and economically. But as a Christian, you can go to Japan today and you can have a good life, but it's still going to be hard, because as a Christian in Japan, that's the outlier. That's not the norm. Now, on that note, Patriots, it's time to go. As always, have a wonderful weekend, Patriots. Never surrender, never submit. God's in charge. Joel, last words.
Oh, last words. Think of those Christians in Japan. They're counting the cost. They're taking up their cross daily, but their reward eternally is going to be there for them. So
Absolutely.
good on
All
them.
right, everyone. Have a wonderful day.